Hey guys, it's your girl Jade. Welcome back to my channel. So, it has been a very long time since I've made a video on here. It's been a few years. And why I'm coming back to make this video in particular is because it was kind of sort of requested, but I also really wanted to make it. And even with that, it's still pretty delayed that I'm doing it right now. But please bear with me. I will explain as much as I can. Thank you. So, a few weeks, maybe almost 2 months ago, I think I had gotten a notification from YouTube saying that there was a comment that I had made on a BTS video some years ago. I think maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and it was getting some attention. So I had went back onto those videos and their comment sections, and I found out that there were new armies or well, if you don't know by now, Army is the name of the BTS fandom. And there were some new armies or some kind of resurgence of their old videos going around in the fandom. And there was a few of them act, who were basically saying like, "Oh, thank you for being there from the beginning. How was it back then? Did you think they were going to be this popular and all types of things?" And one of them asked for my opinion on BTS now, if I'm proud of them, if however I feel about them. And I said, there's a lot I want to say. And it probably would be best for me to make a video on it or to make a blog post about it. And I literally kind of dropped the idea after a while because I got a little busy. But I am here and I decided, it's Thanksgiving is coming up and why not talk about BTS? So here we are. So I guess the best way for me to start talking about BTS is to start from the beginning, how I found out about them, if I remember that part, if I remember much about it really, and kind of me watching their development after a little while and getting to where they are now, and how I feel about most of these parts. So I think the way that I had heard about BTS was probably because I was watching. I had to be watching. I feel like I was probably watching like K-pop Music Monday. I don't know if any of you remember that. I don't even know if you guys who are watching this are going to even know who Simon and Martina are, or at the time really was. But Simon and Martina, they used to do this little series that was called K-pop Music Monday. I did some videos. I was kind of reacting to some of their stuff, and it's not very good. It was not a very good reaction. I don't feel the best about it now. I didn't even feel the best about it, a while ago, and I just never went back to delete those videos or to private them or whatever. I'm going to do that before this video comes out, so you won't find it, I'm sure. But I was very intrigued by them, and this was partially because by that point in my life, I was already a Block B fan. The BBC. I was kind of a BAP fan, the babies, with the YZ. That was a big thing. Um, I was already into other groups like TVXQ, Huge Cassiopeia, Super Junior. My mainstay fandom has been Elf since pretty much almost since I got into K-pop. Um, Big Bang, G Dragon was my introduction to K-pop, so it was kind of automatic. I love Beauty a lot, and that's kind of why I made an entire 4 parts series analyzing his coup d'etat video. Anyway, that's not what you're here for. You're not here for any of that. So, when BTS released their first trailer, I think I was very, very intrigued, especially because it sounded quite different from what I was expecting. Yes, Block B had a hip hop sound, and so did BAP, had a really huge hip hop sound, but it wasn't. like the hip hop I grew up with. And you could look at any of my past videos and you will automatically be able to tell that I'm a black woman. And the hip hop I grew up with was that of black people, Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre and all that type of stuff, right? So this hip hop sounded much more similar to that. And it intrigued me a lot. So I was like, okay, I want to see what happens. And I remember so clearly, people had issue already with Namjoon because I want to know how many of you remember this, but people took issue with Namjoon because of his hair, and there were some people who thought that he was mixed, and he wasn't the only one either. For whatever reason, it seemed like there was a trend of sorts to look mixed with something, whether that was black or white or anything that just wasn't Korean really. It was kind of a big thing to have it, and there was another girl, another woman, I should say, who was in the group What's Up. I don't know if anyone is going to remember that one either, but I think her name was Nada, and people were kind of questioning because their tans are a little darker and their hair is a little different, and they just have this type of swag about them, which that's all fine, good, and dandy, but that does not a black person make. So obviously they are not. Neither of them are mixed with anything. They are Korean and Korean. So that was kind of a big controversy at the time. So eventually, BTS's actual music video came out, No More Dream. And let me tell you, I was obsessed with that song. Absolutely obsessed. When the album came out, I never bought any of their physical albums. I feel like I should have now, especially that first one because I feel it's so valuable. But I listened to that album over and over. I would fall asleep to that album, quite honestly. I adored their Too Cool for School album. As a matter of fact, their first three albums to this day still are some of my favorite K-pop, some of my favorite albums when it comes to K-pop. And Too Cool for School, even though it was pretty bare bones, I would think by comparison when you're thinking about a group coming out of the big companies, like JYP, YG, SM at the time, because Big Hit was not on the map. And I'm going to talk more about Big Hit a little bit later and what I think about them and what I think about their status. I'm going to talk about all that in a minute. But yeah, if you saw those rookie groups that were coming out from SM, especially because they had EXO come out the year before. EXO had came out in 2012, and to some degree, it was a little bit of a rivalry there. It wasn't much because EXO already had BAP to argue with, since they were both doing the alien concept, even though one was like very much so pop and the other one was very hip hop. BTS just kind of went into their own lane, like I said before, with going into the very westernized hip hop down to using, I think, a sample from Dr. Dre, if I remember correctly. So that bass beat, the one that starts that doom 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 doom, that there. I think I'm trying to remember where it was sampled from, and I think it was Dr. Dre's song. I don't remember which one it was, but that was very Western. That was very American, I should say. That was very American, and pretty much around that time when they came out from their debut to maybe their second album in between that time, they were involved in a lot of stuff. And some of it was not their fault, some of it was just happenstance. And I made a tons of videos on BTS in the past. And they're still up on my channel now, partially because I agree with some of them. One of the biggest ones that happened at the time that the fandom still steals, oh my gosh, I can't talk. Part of this that the BTS fandom still feels to this day was the Be Free situation. And I made a whole rant video about that some years ago, like around the time that it happened. I think the week of, because it was very disrespectful. If you don't know that situation, at the time, I want to say, um, maybe less than a year into their debut, or about a year into their debut, this truly grown man rapper, Be Free, was kind of insulting them on radio, like in live in front of their faces. Um, Especially insulting Namjoon and Yoongi, about, you guys were underground before and you were all, tough and masculine, but now you're K-pop stars and you have on makeup and all this stuff, so you're not clearly not the same people. And that was a really big situation. Even though the fandom was super small by that time, it was it was a really big situation in between us. So there were a few people who had talked about it, and I just ranted about it because that's what I do for the most part on my channel. The same way I'm doing this, but that was one of the first really big situations that I could think of that kind of started pushing BTS into the position that they were going to be in today, really. So, but anyway, I do want to get into answering the question what I think about them now, because as much as I want to go over a lot of more things, especially that I had talked about back then when I was the biggest fan of them, a lot of the stuff I did then were reactions to their videos, and I'm super grateful that Big Hit. I don't think they copyright claimed any of them because I was reacting, but very grateful about that not being a thing. So, as much as I do want to talk about, my reactions to each of those videos and some of the stuff that had happened in between those videos, the Bangtan bombs and everything, Bangtan bombs and everything, um, I just simply will not have the time to do it. And it's not what you're here for either. You're here to know my opinion of BTS. So, my current opinion on BTS is that I am incredibly proud of where they are. And I say that as someone who is no longer an army. I don't identify with the fandom anymore, and it's not because of any toxicity. It was a general purging of K-pop to me around, I want to say 2015 or so, or 2016. I kind of stopped listening to most K-pop. I listened to the groups that were my mainstays, Big Bang, G Dragon, Super Junior, TVXQ, Shinhwa. I listened to my other groups that I enjoyed at the time, like Girls' Generation and 21. And I didn't pay as much attention to BTS, so I probably stopped listening to them around, yeah, just about then too. They were already about 2 years old by then, 2 or 3 years old. I say that like they're actual babies, but they're they had already been out for about 2 or 3 years by that point when I stopped listening to K-pop, and that was a personal choice for myself. And that was pretty much the time I stopped claiming myself to be an army. Now I did, however, go to their concert in Dallas, the Red Bullet. I think it was part two. It was in Dallas, Texas, in sometime in 2015, the summer of 2015. And I do have a signed poster that I won from that. I still have my bracelet from it that I was able to just take off of my wrist. I didn't need to cut it, which makes me very proud. And I still have my Bangtan bomb, the army bomb, I should say, light stick, the first version of it at that, and it still works. Which is funny because I hadn't turned it on for 5 years, but it still works. Everything is intact with that, and I had considered selling it a while ago, and I just never did it. But going back to what I think about BTS, beyond me being proud, I kind of had a feeling back then, even, that they were going to grow. Did I think it was going to be to this extent? Not really. That's the part that kind of shocked me. I didn't think they would grow so much that they would have a original songs in English, because the by that time I had become very used to hearing a Korean song be translated into Japanese or Chinese. That this is with TVXQ. If you guys have never heard TVXQ's melodic in Chinese, do yourself a favor and look that up, please. It is actually really nice. Um, they have like Japanese songs. They have original Japanese songs, just general K-pop. There's original Japanese. There's some Chinese versions that get put out every once in a while, but not English. That wasn't very common. That was not a very common language, and I don't think it was until maybe Monster X doing. I think it was Monster X that did a collab with some American artist, someone Montana. I'm sorry, I'm not very good with American artists anymore. I don't pay attention to much pop culture here. And I think that's when the English versions of songs really started to take off, even though I know for a fact that 21 had already had several other songs in English and they all sound amazing. Stop sleeping on 21, please. Their English versions, and people haven't slept on 21 in particular, especially now that they're disbanded, but their English songs are bomb. Please, can't nobody's best. Best. Back to BTS though. Um, I'm, I find it very interesting that it was them that got this big though, and I can admit that I'm very intrigued by how it became them in particular, and I say this partially because um I know that BTS is pretty much Big Hit's only group that brought them up to the level of being as big as their other, as like the previous big three, which again was SM Entertainment, YG Entertainment, and JYP Entertainment. But personally speaking, I don't think that it should be that one thing that one group that puts Big Hit on that list. And I know that's going to be a little controversial for some people, but I just don't think that it should be the one because that's not how the other ones got there. There's several groups that they had to put out with degrees of success that built that up. And yes, of course, now it's different. I shouldn't technically be comparing, group companies that have been around for decades by now to this company that just kind of had a one shot and it just happened to be lucky. But that's exactly what it is. BTS was a one shot that happened to be very lucky for them. And I don't think that should put them into this same level as other companies who had to basically put in work to get themselves there. Um, but again, this is me not being involved into K-pop as the musical pop culture goes. Much more on the business side of things and how they've reacted has been more of my focus since I stopped listening to K-pop. Since I did a purge of K-pop, really, back in 2015. But BTS and Big Hit are two different things. They're two different entities to for me personally to be speaking of right now. But you didn't come for my opinions on Big Hit. You came for my opinion on BTS. Long story short is I'm very happy. I am very proud. It feels like they blew up right after, like almost immediately after I was like purging K-pop from my lexicon of music. And I find that to be very interesting. But I do think that where they were already going with their music, they had a solid message that they wanted to get out. They had solid storylines that they wanted to get out. There's an endless pool of theories of connecting this video to that video to that video to this one lyric in the song to the way that he sang this one note. It's all very intriguing and interesting, and I love seeing that the fandom that I used to be a part of really grew and blossomed into this thing. However, I will also say that that does not exclude the terrible parts of this fandom, and I want those people who are the non-casual listeners to call yourself an army. That's very big. To call yourself any name, any fandom name in K-pop fandom culture, I think is very huge. And because of that, I do think that those armies need to also be checking other armies. I, as a older K-pop fan, I've been listening since 2008 ish or so, and it sounds like a very short time from 2008 to 2015, but I did pick it back up every once in a while. I didn't really stop listening to it as much as I was just limiting who I was listening to. So from 2008 to now, as an older fan, I have seen plenty of toxic K-pop fandom behavior. And I'm also saying this as someone who has done kind of extensive looks into the K-pop fandoms of the past, the 90s and early 2000s, because all of that interests me. And I do think that all the army have a responsibility to those other army to be checking them as well and to be denouncing them, which I know that you all do already. And that makes me very happy because BTS can only do so much. Armies need to check themselves as well. But all of this rambling nonsense to say I'm incredibly happy at where BTS is right now, and I'm very proud of them the same way I'm very proud of Blackpink. But Blackpink is another story because I have more to say about that. I have more to say about them, really. And I find it so interesting that it was BTS that got this type of popularity. I find it very interesting, but I also think it's super cute to see new armies rolling around to some of the old, like super old videos of them and commenting on everyone's comments from then and asking them how they are and what their life is like now and everything. I think that's very cute. I like that kind of checkup culture that these armies are creating, and I would love to see that happen more often. Um, if you did come to my channel for this video, I sincerely apologize for it being so late. You may not even be interested in hearing what I have to say anymore, but I want you guys to also check out some of my old BTS content, even though it was majority reactions and one very heated Be Free and BTS rant. I think it was like 20 or 25 minutes long, which cracks me up personally, but I was one of those people, and I still am, that I just kind of post something and I leave it alone. And because I'm a rambler, I'm just going to say thank you to the army who wanted to know more about my opinion enough to watch this video. Thank you for coming to this video. I am sorry if I said some things that you didn't want to hear today, but this was my opinion. I was asked my opinion, and I was going to give my opinion. And be nice in the comments if you do comment. I'm not necessarily expecting any, but if you do, be nice. Other than that, I do not expect that I will be really returning to this channel in an official capacity at any moment in my the way my life is right now. YouTube isn't something that I see myself making a lot of videos on, at least not this channel. I do have two other channels where I am posting content and planning content out for another one of them. And I just don't see myself making K-pop related content super regularly like I did before. And a lot of that has to do with just my taste, and that kind of just puts me somewhere where I don't know what to do with this channel anymore. So, I mean, I can always make some videos like this as request, but I wouldn't stick around much for this video. It will not hurt me if you unsubscribe. I promise. You will not hurt my feelings. Um, yeah, just please be very nice in the comments and like this video if you like that. I'm joking. Don't even like the video. Don't do anything. I'm a rambler. Don't listen to me. Why are you here? Don't listen to me. But okay, ending it for real now. Thank you guys for watching this video. Thank you to the army who asked for this video to come into existence, really. And thank you guys for rolling back around to those super old BTS videos and just checking up on your older armies. Sometimes they need that. Sometimes they're still there. Sometimes they're not. And especially now in this time, it's nice to have that. Please be nice to each other. Please stay safe. If you are over here in America with me, happy Thanksgiving. And I'll see you guys some other time. Peace.